Hello everyone. This video is definitely outside of my normal posts, but I thought it was important because I don't understand the blatant injustice being served to the American people who are, many of them are suffering, fearful, stressed out, and struggling. I usually don't talk politics, and to be honest, this really isn't a political post at all. I'm not choosing sides. I'm not saying one is better than the other. What I'm about to say is really just truth. And both sides are at fault. And why I'm speaking on this is really to call out the grave injustice that's happening right now in our world and to the many of the American people. I'm confused and I don't understand why no one else seems to be concerned about this honestly blatant disregard, total disrespect, and complete lack of concern by those in power for the American people, the very people who elected them. You see, exactly 2 weeks ago, our American government, actually gave many American citizens the middle finger. I held off on this video because thinking about that, I thought it couldn't be possible. When I saw and heard and read what happened, I said, no, they couldn't be so blatant with this. This has to be some sort of negotiation tactic. But as we can clearly see, now 2 weeks later, this is not. It's not any negotiation tactic. Yet what's so confusing to me is no one seems to be bothered that Congress and the government just said a big F you. And here's what I'm talking about. At the end of July, the federal supplement for unemployment and the protection for citizens to not be evicted from their homes or apartments, or to not be foreclosed upon, and to not lose their homes ended. And Congress was supposed to vote on that, on maybe extending that or what they were going to do with those programs. But they were also voting as well on sending out what is known as the second stimulus check to help those who have been crippled by this crisis that we find ourselves in. Now, the mainstream media portrays it like Congress was locked for weeks in this laborious battle of wills, one side against the other, working extremely hard to pass the second stimulus package for Americans who, again, many are, that 30 million people are unemployed, struggling financially. But let me just show you, maybe in like 30 seconds, what this battle of wills and very hard work really looks like. You see, one side, like the Democrats, will put together something and say, well, okay, here, this is what we want. And they pass it over to the Republicans. And the Republicans take a look at it and say, well, no, sorry, but change a couple things or put something together on their side and say, but here, how about this? And they pass it back to the Democrats, who look at it and say, nope, sorry, doesn't seem right, so maybe this. And they pass that back. And then Republicans look at that and say, no, sorry, we don't like it. How about this? And that's what goes on, back and forth, this passing of we want this, we want that. And all the while that this is happening, they are just stringing the American people along, people who are unemployed, people who have no income. They keep them waiting, extending their stress, their anxieties, their struggles, their fears for many of these people who are in such dire need of just some help. So finally, after weeks of this back and forth, this is where the part that gets so comical. What do both sides decide? Well, sorry, we can't agree. And we did a lot of very hard work. So you know what? Now we need a vacation. And so what they said is basically, see you all later. I'm going to go to probably like my third, fourth, or fifth home and spend a few weeks on holiday. Can you believe this? It blows my mind. Because this is what they actually did on August 14th. And there, my friends, is the complete middle finger to many American people. And sadly, they did it to those who are making less than $75,000, because those who were the ones who were getting the stimulus check. They screwed the people who needed it the most. They told them, F you, sorry, we don't care about you. And this is so sad, because I have seen businesses have to close their doors. I know personally business owners studios, wellness centers, restaurant owners who have had to go under. People have lost their livelihood, and I've directly seen this political game destroy lives and close businesses. How can people not be outraged? If your business or your company was in the middle of an unprecedented crisis, there is no way that the boss would put up with the entire staff picking up and leaving town to go on vacation. It would never happen. Heads would roll if employees even suggested that. I don't know any company that would stand for it. So why do we, or maybe I should say, why did we let Congress get away with this grave and inhumane injustice? A tragedy to many American people. Whether they want to recognize it or not, the truth is that Congress, they work for us, okay? We, the American people, pay their overpriced salaries. Now, I say overpriced, not because I think like they shouldn't be paid a certain amount, but I say overpriced because they are supposed to be representatives of the people they serve. Yet the American average income is just $63,000. But the average salary of Congress, members of Congress, is $174,000. And many make much more than that. This fact alone shows that they are not representatives of the people they serve. At 3 times the income of the average American, they do not understand the struggles of the average American. They don't understand their stresses, they don't understand their fears or their anxieties. If they were truly representatives, their salaries should be in line with what the majority of people they represent make. They need to be reminded, truly reminded, that they are employed by us, that they are paid by us. It's our tax dollars that are paying their salaries, and they are supposed to represent us, not themselves, and not just their parties. I mean, I'm thinking right now, let us be reminded of the great quote by a president, John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, who said, "Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but let us seek the right answer." And the right answer would have been to pass the second stimulus for those in need, to help those who might be foreclosed upon or thrown out of their apartments. But instead, they want to play politics and let these unfortunate Americans suffer and let these businesses fail. The government has totally abandoned their posts, while individuals, businesses, nursing homes, hospitals, medical centers, and even schools have had to get things together, and they're suffering because of this COVID that totally crippled our economy. Now, I can say a case can be made that Congress is not doing their jobs. I think we will all agree with that. And therefore, should they be paid? They should not be paid. I mean, who has the luxury, really, of getting paid while not doing their job? Try to collect money for a job you did not do. Try that at your place of business. Try that at the company you work for. Go to your boss and say, "Hey, I want to be paid for this, but I didn't do any work for it. I did not do what I was supposed to do, but I still want my paycheck." We should be calling, American people should be calling for the paychecks and the salaries of Congress to go back to the American taxpayers. Now, if we actually did that, that is 535 salaries, 535 members of Congress, times a base salary of $174,000. That works out to an astonishing $93 million, that's what we pay to Congress, going back to the American taxpayers. Additionally, Americans should be protesting peacefully and calling for a cut in all future salaries to be down to and on par with the average American household or income. Now, that would be 535 times $110,000, which equals $60 million being saved each year, which could be better used for maybe small business or infrastructure or other important matters. The fact that on August 13th, the Senate packed up. And the truth is, the House actually packed up earlier than that to go on vacation. That, again, truly, if you didn't see it, I hope you see it now, that was a big FU, middle finger to many American people. And that was outright disgusting, wrong, and selfish. That's not serving the people. Because now the Senate won't be back until September 8th. And the House, I don't think, comes back till later than that. Like September 14th, I think. So the American people, many, are left waiting for a second stimulus check, which is now going to be delayed by a month or longer. Maybe by October, they'll be lucky if they get it. Now, the fact that it was more important for overpaid politicians who aren't doing their job to break their negotiations for another stimulus package and let many American people suffer longer, again, is not the fault of one, but the fault of both parties. And we should not allow them at all to get off the hook so easily. They act as if they have no boss, but the fact is they do. It's we, the American people. And so why aren't all of you who, the 30 million people, if 30 million people got together, imagine that. But the 30 million people who are unemployed, why are you not outraged? Why aren't the people who make less than $75,000, and there might be way more than 30 million people who fall into that category, why aren't you out peacefully protesting the injustices happening right now, blatantly in your face? And why aren't those who make more outraged for what's happening to our neighbors who are less fortunate than us? Why aren't we calling out this injustice? Do we care only about the injustices that happened hundreds of years ago to people who are long dead? Now, I'm not saying that those things shouldn't be brought to light. They should. I'm not saying that those injustices aren't important. They are. But why dwell in the past and live in the past when this atrocity and this grave injustice happened and is happening right now in this moment, this very moment? This is happening to millions of American people by our government. And this is our government blatantly saying, outright and directly, we do not care about you. Do we, the American citizens, not see this? Or if we do we feel we can't do anything about it? We can. Again, why aren't we out peacefully protesting in front of our senators and representatives' house? Go to their vacation house, protest. Protest out in front of it. Be there. Let them know. The same way we are protesting in the streets for other issues, why aren't all of these people who are tragically affected by this delay, by their vacation, why aren't we coming together? This is affecting all, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of the color of your skin. It's affecting so many. And what the government is doing is affecting all of that, all of those people equally. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what political affiliation you are. This should be a uniting measure. Why aren't we the United States? Why aren't we coming together and uniting as one to say to the government, we won't stand for this. Do your job. Yet for 2 weeks now, I have seen no outcry. No outcry from the American people. No demonstrations about this. No demonstrations against the very government that just gave we the people the middle finger. And now here's to add insult to injury. Here's to just rub a little bit of salt into your wound. Congress and our government went further, because they showed their true colors even more. They showed us it's all about them. They don't care about us. Because what happened was, the House actually was called back from their vacation into a session last week for an emergency vote. Not for the stimulus to help the people. Not to help those who are in need. But instead, Congress called itself back to make what was they considered a much more important emergency vote, and that was on the post office. Why? Think about it. Because that can affect the elections in November, and that can affect who gets power in 2021. So the government says, screw you, American people. We won't cut our vacation for you, the people we serve. We won't cut into it for you. We won't help you. You can struggle. You can be stressed. You can suffer a while longer. Not important to us. You see, a stimulus isn't important to Congress because their salaries are higher than $75,000. They don't get it. So why would it affect them? Why would they care? But what they said is, we will take a day out of our vacation to vote on the post office because that affects us directly. Do you get it? The attention of the stimulus checks have been diverted to the post office because elections and power are at stake. How blatantly selfish, how greedy for power. And again, I just can't understand why Americans aren't outraged and why this injustice by our government isn't uniting citizens all across the world. By coming together as one people, this United States, we can create a change for better. And when the power of love overcomes the love of power, we will know peace in our society and our country. So if you like this topic, please give it a thumbs up. It does help the videos. Or if you have any comments, please post them below. I'm sure you do. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, please do that as well to stay up to date on all future posts. I feel for all of you who are struggling. My heart is with you. And I hope and pray that things do change soon. And I also hope and pray that each and every one of your days truly becomes filled with an abundance of love, health, happiness, and peace. Thank you all.